celles-ci ont été partagées entre la Grande-Bretagne et la France. Et mon pays a été divisé. Une partie était sous colonisation britannique, l'autre sous colonisation française. Il en est résulté une juxtaposition de culture et de civilisation qui rendent les choses assez délicates. Bon, on a tout fait pour mettre à égalité les deux langues, les langues anglaises et françaises, mais les mentalités, le système scolaire, le système de la magistrature sont différents. Nous avons donc eu des conflits concernés à la partie de mon pays qui était sous colonisation britannique, un statut spécifique, mais il reste dans l'unité de la nation.
You may be wondering who is speaking, but um, but before we go into that, this is Comrade Fundon Daniel speaking here from the great state of Texas here in the United States. I know many of you are celebrating. This is African Black History Month. This is Black History Month, and I know there are several occasions that are being going on, and this mostly how African has gradually ascending to many thrones here in and around the world, especially United States. And we thanks for such an opportunity. But however, they have ascended to the highest place, but yet they haven't got the power yet. But this is what I am going to be speaking. And besides that, we am going to talk about the Super Bowl. You know, Super Bowl is one of the highly watched games here in the United States. And it all happens that one of the citizens is Southern Cameroon playing with the Tampa Bay, the team that won this year Super Bowl. So I'm gonna be talking about this and many more. And from the images you see is the U.S. Secretary of State Blankins and the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And just underneath me is the Prime Minister's Office of Southern Cameroon. And next to is the three Prime Minister of Southern Cameroon. Those were the three Prime Ministers that were elected into the Southern Cameroon as the executive head of government of Southern Cameroon. So in this era, many people, when someone say Cameroon, when you said Southern Cameroon, I'm from Southern Cameroon, it surprised many people around the world. And the reason, or the obvious reason, they know of Cameroon, but they don't know of Southern Cameroon. And so the people of Southern Cameroon has changed the name called Ambazonia, but still doesn't ring a bell to so many around the world the significance. So it all has to do with the wrongdoing of the British government, beginning from the decolonizations. When the World War II ended, after the Germans were defeated, the territory that were under the control of the Germans were placed under the Allied forces that defeated the Germans. And so those territories remained under their control. After the formation of the United Nations was formed in 1945. So the United Nations law was established that the territories that were under the Allied forces be given their rightful independence. And you will agree with me that Britain cannot be in Britain and claiming a territory in Africa which is out of the boundary of Britain. So therefore those territories will have to be given their rightful independence so they can have a self-government. So in this era, Southern Cameroon was part of those territories that should have been given its rightful independence, because Southern Cameroon was part of the British administering authority, and La République was part of French administering authority. And you may listen, the message may not be clear. That is the current La République du Cameroon president, and speaking that he attempted to assimilate the people of Southern Cameroon, and he cited the question of language differences, cultural differences, political and law differences, and that has made him find it difficult to assimilate the people of Southern Cameroon into the French majority. So you may not be able to see the listing exactly what he says, but if you pay close attention, you can understand the meaning, what he was trying to say. He was presiding over in a meeting in Paris where some elites of African descent were speaking about the role after attending what they call the Paris meetings. So this brought to their attention, and they were asked him what is his impressions and what is in the Southern Cameroon. And he tried to elaborate in this meeting. And so that's why I'm bringing this, his own voice and his own perspective for the people to listen. And that is why the people of Southern Cameroon has asked the British government, because before I delve into that, first, the current British Prime Minister, a few months ago, I think that is in January, if I'm not mistakenly, he fully withdrew from the European Union. In fact, even though they claimed that British was part of the European Union, the British pound was still not part of the European Union, which means they were just temporarily. So if Britain believe that they cannot be part of the European Union, why do they believe that the people of Southern Cameroon should be part of the European Union? Why should the people of Southern Cameroon be part of the neighboring country, La République du Cameroon? Of course, and this is what we are asking, that the law of decolonization, Article 1514 XV of the United Nations Charter, be fully implemented to Southern Cameroon. So when you take for example, you take a country like Equatorial Guinea. Equatorial Guinea is simply just 1 point something million people, inhabitants, and yet they have their own independence. What about the people of Southern Cameroon? The people of Southern Cameroon deserve to have their own sovereignty, to be able to manage. We are 8 millions. The people of Southern Cameroon are 8 millions. So therefore, they should be able to govern themselves. Unlike a Guinea, Equatorial Guinea, which is just simply 1 point something million. If you don't make a mistake, just hold on. We are in the era of social media, so let's utilize it to our own advantage. We are in the era of social media. So social media, so you can get whatever info you needed. Okay, so you pay, listen. Hello, Google.
Hello, here are some things you can try.
Okay. What is the population of Equatorial Guinea?
In 2019, the population of Equatorial Guinea was 1,355,986.
That is Google reporting the population of Equatorial Guinea, 1.3 millions. So if the population of Equatorial Guinea is 1.3 million, then Southern Cameroon is 8 millions. Why can't there be a self-government? Of course, they did have a government. They had a government and 3 executives. And that is why I present them in my image in which I'm talking about. There are 3 of them. You have Ndele, you have Ngufoncha, you have Jua, and the one that started beginning the marketing of Southern Cameroon to La République. That you see him, the last person, that's Mona. That's the person began the selling of the identity of the people of Southern Cameroon to the so-called La République du Cameroon, that they are claiming ownership of the Southern Cameroon territory. as you listen to la Republic President. Just hold on a minute.
C'est ça le problème que nous avons à résoudre. On avait la possibilité de les intégrer directement dans le système francophone qui était celui de la majorité du peuple 80%. Mais je crois que les pays sont soucieux aujourd'hui d'affirmer leur identité. Et c'est pour ça que nous mettons sur pied la spécificité de la zone anglophone, mais elle reste dans l'intégrité territoriale du Cameroun. Ça donne beaucoup de problèmes. Eh bien,
I'm sorry that
mon pays, le Cameroun, a d'abondantes et excellentes relations avec la Chine, qui intervient dans le domaine de divers infrastructures, etc. Bon, même quand on discute avec les autorités chinoises, elles nous disent que notre pays est un pays en
I'm sorry, but the voice is so low. But anyway, I'm going to post that video, he himself speaking. So I'm going to post it after these conversations. So now let's move forward. And
l'Allemagne a perdu ses colonies et celles-ci ont été partagées entre la Grande-Bretagne et la France. Et mon pays a été divisé. Une partie était sous colonisation britannique, l'autre sous colonisation française. Il en est résulté une juxtaposition de culture et de civilisation qui rendent les choses assez délicates. Bon, on a tout fait pour mettre à égalité.
Good evening. Here again, this is Comrade Funton Daniel speaking here from the great state of Texas. Today, as we celebrate African History Month, it is quite amazing and looking at how Africans have accomplished a lot, and beginning with here in the United States. It is a great changing moment in African history. It's not just here in the United States, but I'm sure that it should be a clear example for the rest of the world to enumerate this behavior of the United States government that have done so much, not only for the African community, but to demonstrate that a lot has to be done. And this was demonstrated by the Biden administration that has shown the world that all people are equal, and if you give in one's every opportunity, everyone will rise to the equal task. And that was demonstrated by the president-elect Joe Biden, the current president of the United States. You know, he has been demonstrating. It's someone that has been fought, and I've learned over the history, his ambitions that he has been fighting for the equality for Africans. And you may watch the video in which he spoke bitterly on the apartheid regime in South Africa. He was so much vibrating on the U.S. Secretary of State that was in the U.S. Senate, and he was so adamant that the United States couldn't do anything on the apartheid regime. And given the circumstances that the United States is superpower, shouldn't be at the mercy of apartheid control, but should give some liberty and freedom for the Africans. So this time, it's not only him, the US Senate, but this time he is the president. So to demonstrate this, amazing president has shown towards African community. And in doing so, he has not only have his vice president, also an African descent, former Senator Kamala Harris is now the vice president and of the United States. And not only just the first vice president of African descent, but also the first woman to be in that key position in the entire US history. The first female to be a vice president. So that's a lot of history in the making, you know. And not only that, you have also the Secretary of State, or the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd, who was a former 4-star general within the U.S. Army. So he's also now the first black to be the Secretary of Defense. And it is so much amazing seeing all these good things that the United States keep on showing the world, that all race is equal in respect of where you come from, what color you are, and what kind of food you eat, what language you speak, and what family origin you are. Everyone have equal opportunity, and this was a clear example. And looking at the pandemic, this is a very, very unfortunate thing that has rocked the world, the first of its kind, this pandemic, the coronavirus. But however, Africa is still not left out. The scientists that brought out the vaccine that we are currently utilized to help to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. And that was discovered by an African scientist. And that is Dr. Corbett, as you see her just underneath me. That's Dr. Corbett, is the one chief scientist that discovered the vaccine that is currently going on now against the virus. And it's not just her alone. And in this, you have Dr. Ngozi from Nigeria, is now the first woman to ascend to the throne of the World Trade Organizations. It is quite amazing seeing these changes that is happening, not only within the African, but also in the African community, to have Dr. Ngozi at the helm of the first of its kind to the World Trade Center. And looking next again, you have Ndamukong, a citizen of southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. They just won the Super Bowl, the Tampa Bay, where he was an amazing player in this wonderful game. It's not only the fact that he is not only just, but he's from an exiled citizen, an exile from neighboring country La Republic of Cameroon, and from southern Cameroon that has been fighting the war. And I'm sure I'm going to come into detail into that. But however, it is quite amazing seeing these structural changes coming to Africa. So there is more amazing that Africa must be, that this is just shown a clear example to the rest of the world community. You remember that in Italy, if I'm not mistakenly, when the Italian Prime Minister appointed an African lady to one of his ministerial positions, she was being shot with peelings of bananas. That's to show that Europe still have a long way to integrate itself. But I'm sure they should learn a lesson from this current moment. That Europe need to do more on the social integration of African and any other community within the European descent. And so stay tuned, do not go away for Black History Month with Comrade Funton Daniel. as we are, as I'm still speaking here on the southern Cameroon, and that is the message of a neighboring country, La Republic President. And I am going to post that message, and him clearly stated that he has attempted to assimilate the people of southern Cameroon, but given the culture, the language, and the system of government or the system of law, he finds it difficult to integrate the people of southern Cameroon into the French majority. But however, it didn't work that way. So I will be speaking here, and you can see the formal administration that has been preventing the accurate discussion on the southern Cameroon. Just in front of me, you have the OAU chairperson. They claim that he has been elected, that he doesn't even represent the aspiration of Africa. But that is the terrible individuals. That is the tools. That's the tools, the handiwork of France that implanted in Africa that control the aspect of African life for the interest of France, not the interest of Africans as a whole. He works for the interest. And that is why when the former OAU permanent representative to the United Nations, France forced this guy to terminate her position because he questioned the validity of France towards African descent. But unfortunately, and you will all see how she is very vocal about this France colonialism in Africa. Because Africa cannot even breathe. They can breathe their natural air. They are under the glue of France, trying to persuade what they think for the interest rather than for the interest. That's why what is going on in southern Cameroon has been a nightmare, where citizens of southern Cameroon are being slaughtered by this brutal regime underneath me. That this person, the current president of La Republique du Cameroon, that has been in power for close to 38 years. Because his interests serve the interests of France. And that is why France does not oppose his candidacy. Imagine that this guy was in power when Emmanuel Macron, the current president of France, was basically 2 years old when he became president. And today Emmanuel Macron is the president of France. And he doesn't even think whether the people need to have an effective democratic form of government. And so the people of southern Cameroon cannot live under those dictatorship. And you have, just above me, you have the current United Nations Secretary General. I think we need a reform. We need a total reform at the United Nations, and it began by eliminating the current United Nations Secretary General, because he has no aspiration. Some claim that he's been there for 25 years, so he has experience. I'm sure that is useless. It's 25 years of corruption. I don't think someone should be at the helm of the United Nations for that length of period. I think there should be some term limit, that some individuals should not stay overdue. And you have the former U.S. Secretary Undersecretary for African Affairs, who believe that the people of southern Cameroon must stay under the colonial regime. And that is why I look on Google and I ask, Equatorial Guinea is just 1.3 million people, and they have their sovereignty. We are 8 million. Why can't we govern ourselves? Anyway, stay tuned.
The atrocities of the military is actually here in
destroyed, and the cow, goat, animals that were destroyed. It is for a total amount of something like 80 million, including something that is given for each victim. So it's something I want you to go to 80 million that is going to be shared to the representative of the families today.
As you can see, the person that was just speaking is the colonial governor. You know, I want to bring this attention to history. You know, when if you anyone can recall Metternich in history, Metternich was somebody in Austria. You know, and you know, he believed that an appointing someone from different tribe to govern a specific area that will give them a control, because appointing someone from that particular place, it will not give him a complete control. And so therefore this is exactly what is going in Southern Cameroon, the divide and rule system. Because La Republic knew that the people of Southern Cameroon has a different form of government. As you listen from La Republic president, that is a colonial governor. That is a colonial governor. They appointed to oversee the Southern Cameroon territory, to control, to glue the Cameroonian, the people of Southern Cameroon and Ambazonia under the control, so that it permit La Republic to harvest the property of Southern Cameroon. And so that is why he says he has attempted to assimilate, and that is why he appointed colonial governor to, instead of the people of Southern Cameroon elected their officials as in the past, they appointed the colonial masters to glue on to the people of Southern Cameroon. And within the last 4 years, as this crisis erupted, you see, those are homes burned by the military regime. As I'm speaking, there's still more homes being burned down by La Republique du Cameroon. In Quen, specifically, within the last 24 hours, as I'm speaking, they have burned the Quen market by the brutal regime military of La Republique du Cameroon that are currently terrorizing the people of Southern Cameroon. How much do we have to speak? The people of Southern Cameroon are 8 million. The people of Southern Cameroon are 8 million. They should be able to govern themselves. Whereas in Equatorial Guinea, it's just 1.3 million of the population, and it's a sovereign nation. So why can't the people of Southern Cameroon govern themselves as they had been in the past? Southern Cameroon was an independent nation that was governing itself, has its own prime minister. Although they were partially ruled by the British administrative authority in UK, but they have their own elected executive, prime minister, head of government, and their own parliament. You have first Ndele, second Ngumjwa, no, not second Ngumjwa, Jongu Foncha, third Njwa, and the so-called Muna or whatever it is. But they were able to govern themselves happily. Why is it that they believe that the people of Southern Cameroon can govern themselves? I think it's time to recognize that the people of Southern Cameroon ought to be let go, and so they should be able to govern themselves. These are homes, these are markets, these homes and markets that are burned down. Can you imagine what is going on with the feelings? Just imagine here in the United States, just because people are out of job because of the coronavirus, the government here in the United States are assisting the populations to help them. But instead, in La Republique du Cameroon, they do not even assist the population. The military went ahead and burning the market, place where people harvest, get some little money from their food crops they harvested, and they transport it in a harsh environment where there is no road network, and they get to the market, in which La Republique lit a petrol and burned the entire, as you see in this action. How much does the people of Southern Cameroon can express themselves? The people of Southern Cameroon want to be let go. For those who think that the people of Southern Cameroon should remain under the umbrella of a foreign nation, La Republique du Cameroon, I'm sure everyone is making a mistake assumptions. Stay tuned, don't go away.
head of state have given
The Mafia village, the military continue with their atrocities. This is how that has done the bend this morning, this afternoon here in Mafia. And this is one of the military of the government of Biya. They continue with their atrocities. This afternoon, everyone continues to see the atrocities of the military this afternoon here in Mafia.
Giving for each victim. So it's something I want you to go to 80 million.
But anyway, I am so disturbed by the ongoing crisis in southern Cameroon, where citizens of southern Cameroon are being murdered indiscriminately. And because the people, they want to satisfy the interests of France. They want to satisfy the interests of France over the interests of the indigenous people of southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. Well, anyway, I'm going to continue on this line of argument. Stay tuned, and not stay tuned, but I want to thank all of you for watching. This is Comrade Funton Daniel speaking here from the great state of Texas, and wish you all a happy Black History Month. Thank you.